She thought she was begging her ex for $28 to buy baby formula. But the stranger who answered that message was a billionaire who had never been asked for help in his entire life. The rain taps softly against the thin window of a tiny, third-floor apartment. The kind where the heater buzzes louder than it works. Inside, Mara Ellis rocks her 3-month-old son in her arms, trying to calm the weak, hungry cries rising from his tiny chest. Her hands tremble slightly. She has stretched every last dollar, every last ounce of strength. And tonight, she has run out of both. The kitchen light flickers as she opens the cabinet again, even though she knows it is empty. The last scoop of formula was used hours ago. She closes her eyes, swallowing the tight knot rising in her throat. Her phone buzzes with a low battery warning. She ignores it. She scrolls to the contact she once labeled Aaron. Do not call unless emergency. The person she never wants to rely on again. But her baby's cry cuts through her pride like a blade. Her thumb hesitates, and she types with quick, embarrassed breaths. Please. I just need $28 for formula. I do not want anything else. She hits send before she can think. The message shoots into the dark, into the storm, into the wrong hands. Across the city, on the top floor of a glass tower that disappears into the clouds, Caleb Rowan sets down the tumbler of water he has not touched. The penthouse around him is silent, organized, immaculate, and absolutely lifeless. The man who built an empire from data, algorithms, and relentless precision now scrolls through a phone that rarely receives messages not screened by his assistant. A vibration, a new text. Not business. Not a reporter. Not a board member. A plea. He frowns at the unfamiliar number. He reads it twice, then a third time. $28. Formula. The words do not match the world he knows. He waits for the follow-up message, the scam, the pressure. None comes. Only silence. Caleb exhales slowly, almost unsettled. Wrong number, he murmurs to himself. Yet something about the quiet desperation in those words, something about the courage it takes to admit need, stops him from deleting the message. Back in the cramped apartment, Mara presses her forehead to her baby's, whispering that she is trying. She is trying so hard. She checks her phone again, praying for a reply that does not come. The rain gets louder. Her baby's cry gets softer, thinner. Anxiety drowns everything else. Then her phone buzzes. A message. From the wrong man? From the billionaire who does not know her name. From the only person in the city who paused long enough to listen? The rain does not let up through the night. And neither does the quiet ache inside Mara's chest. Morning comes too soon. The sky outside her tiny apartment is a dull, washed-out gray, the kind that makes the whole world feel tired. She bundles her son in the one warm blanket she has and slips him gently into the old stroller with the squeaky wheel. Sleep still clings to her eyes, but exhaustion is a luxury she cannot afford. Her phone screen lights up with missed shifts. 2 out of the 3 jobs she juggles have texted her. One asks why she was not there last night. The other simply says they've replaced her for the week. She presses the phone to her forehead, breathing slowly through the fear spreading hot through her chest. Losing even one shift means losing groceries, losing bus fare, losing another piece of the fragile balance she fights to keep. She checks her bank app again, even though she knows the answer. Just a few dollars left. Not enough for formula. Not enough for the electric bill that is already overdue. The heater buzzes, struggling against the cold creeping across the floor. She wraps her coat tighter, even though it does not make much difference. Her son stirs, letting out a soft whimper that slices straight through her heart. I know, baby, she whispers. I know you are hungry. I am trying. She hates how small her voice sounds. She hates that she cannot give him more. And she hates that a single wrong number felt like her only option last night. She pushes the stroller out the door, the hallway dim and smelling faintly of damp carpet. On the stairs, she moves slowly, careful not to jostle her son. She thinks of the message she sent. She thinks of the stranger who received it. No reply has come. She tells herself it is better that way. She does not want charity. She only wanted enough to make it through one night, Across the city, Caleb Rowan stands at the floor-to-ceiling window of his penthouse again, staring down at the morning traffic streaming like silver threads through the streets. He barely slept. The message replayed in his mind more than he expected, pulling up memories he had buried under years of polished schedules and perfect presentations. His assistant knocks softly. "Your meeting with the board is in 1 hour, Mr. Rowan." He nods but does not move. The company he built demands his focus. But something about that message from the unknown woman feels heavier than it should. It was not the request. It was the honesty, the rawness. He does not remember the last time someone spoke to him without fear, without calculation, without expecting anything from his wealth. He pulls up the text again, a simple sentence glowing on the screen. $28. That number haunts him. A bottle of sparkling water delivered to his office costs more than that. One cocktail at a business dinner costs twice as much. He wonders what kind of pressure forces a mother to ask her ex for such a small but essential amount. He sets the phone down, irritation pricking at him. Not irritation at her, but at the realization that he has built a life so insulated that he does not understand what $28 feels like anymore. He exhales sharply, as if the thought alone is a weight on his chest. Back on the street, Mara walks the long route to the community clinic because she cannot pay for the bus today. The wind cuts through her thin coat, numbing her fingers. Every step reminds her of the choices she has made and the choices she no longer has. At the clinic door, a nurse recognizes her. "You again? You look exhausted, honey. Is everything all right?" Mara forces a small smile. "Just a rough night. I am here to see if they have formula samples left." The nurse's face softens, but her voice lowers. "They ran out yesterday. I am so sorry." Mara nods, even though her stomach sinks. She thanks the nurse politely and steps back outside, tightening her grip on the stroller handle as the cold air hits her. She tells herself she will figure something out. She always does. But her heart cracks a little at the thought of another day of hunger for her son. She lifts her phone, almost against her will. Checking for a reply to the wrong number? Nothing. She is about to slip the phone back into her coat pocket when it buzzes suddenly in her hand. Her breath catches. One new message. Unknown number, and without meaning to, she whispers, "Please, let this be something I can handle." The phone vibrates in Mara's hand with a soft buzz that feels louder than the wind around her. She presses her back against the cold brick wall outside the clinic, shielding her son from the breeze as she unlocks the screen. Her breath fogs in the air when she reads the message. "I am sorry if this is unexpected. You reached me by mistake last night. Are you all right?" Her heart stutters. The number is the same one that received her desperate plea. She reads the message again, afraid it will vanish. The words are calm, steady, and strangely respectful. No judgment. No accusation. Just a question that feels almost human. She tightens the blanket around her baby and types carefully, her fingers stiff from the cold. "I apologize. I did not mean to bother you. I sent that message to the wrong person. Everything is fine. Please ignore it." She hesitates before adding the last line. "I am sorry for disturbing your night." She hits send, closing her eyes in embarrassment. She wants to disappear. She wants to erase the proof of her desperation from the world. She wants to pretend she did not spend the morning walking miles for a sample the clinic did not have. Across the city. In the stillness of the penthouse, Caleb reads her replies slowly. The apology bothers him more than the original message. He can feel the strain between each word. The "everything is fine" rings as false as it is familiar. It reminds him of the way his mother used to reassure him during the years when money was tight and hope was thin. Before everything changed, he types back before he can talk himself out of it. "You did not disturb me. If you need help, I can assist. No expectations, no strings." Stares at the message, deciding whether to send it. It is not like him to reach out. It is not like him to cross personal boundaries. But something about the honesty in her texts makes him feel grounded in a way. Boardrooms and million-dollar contracts never have. He sends it. Back outside the clinic, Mara feels her phone vibrate again. She reads the message, breath catching in her throat. The kindness in his words is almost worse than rejection. It makes her chest tighten with something like hope, something she does not want to feel. She types slowly. I appreciate the offer, but I cannot accept help from someone I do not know. I can manage. I just need time. A moment passes. Another message appears. May I ask one question? Is your child safe? Is all I want to know. Her eyes sting unexpectedly. For a second, she cannot breathe. She looks down at her son sleeping under the blanket, his cheeks pink from the cold. She presses her lips together, fighting the burn behind her eyes. He is safe. Just hungry, but he is safe. I am taking care of him. She does not know why she adds the last sentence. Maybe to reassure him. Maybe to reassure herself. Caleb reads her message while leaning against the kitchen counter, the morning light reflecting off the marble surface. The words sit heavily in his chest. Hungry, safe, taking care of him. He wishes he could believe she is not struggling. The message tells another story completely. He types again. I can help you find work, not charity, not pity, a job. If you want it, he sends it without hesitation this time. When Mara reads that message, her breath catches. A job? From a stranger? She almost laughs at the impossibility of it. She almost deletes the conversation entirely. But then she remembers her son's thin cries through the night. She remembers the clinic's empty shelf. She remembers the weight of her last few dollars. She writes back carefully. What kind of job? Caleb exhales, relieved she did not disappear from the conversation. He thinks for a moment. He chooses something simple, honest, and manageable. Something that does not reveal his identity. Office assistant work. Light tasks. Filing, organizing, scheduling. You would not be working alone. It is a small project space downtown. It's part-time, flexible hours. If you are interested, you can come by tomorrow. No pressure. He includes the address. Mara reads it twice, her pulse quickening. She recognizes the street. She has walked past that area before, passing tall buildings that felt like they existed in another world. A world that was not built for her. She types back, I will think about it. She lifts her son from the stroller and holds him close, pressing a kiss to his forehead. She feels the weight of the decision ahead of her. Accepting help from a stranger feels dangerous. Refusing it feels impossible. Her phone buzzes one more time. Whatever you decide, I hope today gets easier for you. The message is simple, unexpectedly gentle. Mara whispers into the top of her son's head. I hope so too. She starts walking home, unaware that the man who texted her is standing alone at the window of a penthouse high above the city. Wondering why a wrong number feels like the first real connection he has had in years. The next morning arrives quietly, with a pale sun pushing through thin clouds as if unsure it belongs there. Mara barely sleeps. Every time she closes her eyes, she sees the message offering a job. Every time she opens them, she hears her son's small hunger cries echoing in her chest. By the time dawn reaches her apartment, she has already made her decision. It is not hope that pushes her. It is survival. She feeds her son the last bottle she managed to stretch from what little formula remained, then bundles him gently in the blanket before placing him in the stroller for the short walk to her neighbor's door. Mrs. Childers, an older woman with kind eyes, has offered to watch the baby for an hour or two. Just enough time for Mara to meet the stranger who might change her life or remind her exactly why hope is dangerous. Are you sure you will be all right? The woman asks as she adjusts the stroller. I will be back soon, Mara replies softly. Thank you again. I appreciate it more than I can say. She steps outside. The air is crisp and clearer than the day before. She keeps her hands deep in her coat pockets, gripping her phone as she walks. Each step feels heavier than the last. She keeps thinking about the address he sent. A small project space downtown. She imagines something modest, a shared office, a startup, something simple. She does not imagine luxury. Caleb on the other hand has been pacing the quiet floor of the project building for nearly half an hour. It is not the headquarters of his company. It is a separate workspace he keeps for independent development. Far from the suits, the board, in the endless noise of corporate life. He chose this location because it looks ordinary, neutral, a place that would not reveal his identity too soon. He straightens the folders on the desk again, even though they are already perfectly lined. He checks his phone. No message from her. He tells himself not to expect anything. People in difficult situations often back out. People with pride even more so. When the elevator doors open, he freezes. Mara steps into the hallway. Her steps quiet but steady, her coat buttoned high against the draft. Her hair is pulled back loosely. Her eyes show exhaustion but also a determination he recognizes instantly. She looks around the space, unsure if she belongs here. He feels a twinge in his chest at that. He approaches slowly, not wanting to startle her. "Mara," he asks gently. She turns. For the first time, they see each other face to face. The stranger behind the messages is nothing like she expected. He is tall, composed, dressed simply in a dark sweater and clean slacks instead of the corporate armor she imagined. His expression is serious but not cold, curious but not invasive. "Yes," she replies with a soft breath. "You must be." "The one who texted me?" He nods. "My name is Caleb. Thank you for coming." She forces a polite smile, folding her hands together. "I will not take much of your time. I just want to understand what this job is, and if it is real." "It is real," he says. "And I want to be clear. I am not here to judge your situation. You reached out by accident, but the moment I learned a child was involved, I wanted to help in a way that did not make you feel indebted." She studies him carefully. His voice is steady. Not pitying, not patronizing. It's just straightforward. "What exactly would I be doing?" she asks. He gestures toward the small office space behind him. Basic administrative tasks, nothing complicated. Organizing files, checking schedules, light data entry, a few hours a day, or even every other day. Whatever you can manage. She steps inside, looking at the neatly arranged desks, the soft lighting, the quiet hum of the building around them. It is clean, safe, simple, and for the first time in a long time, she imagines herself working somewhere that does not drain her into exhaustion. "How much would you pay?" she asks carefully, preparing herself for the kind of answer she has heard far too often. $20 an hour to start," he replies. Her breath catches. She tries to hide the shock on her face. She has never made that much at any job. Not even close. "That is more than generous," she says slowly. "I do not want charity. It is not charity," he answers. "You would be working, earning. I pay everyone here the same." There is something in his voice she cannot quite decipher, something almost sincere enough to trust. "Almost." Caleb gestures toward a chair. "You can sit if you want." She does not. Sitting feels like commitment. Instead, she keeps her hands in her coat pockets and asks the question she is afraid of. "Why are you doing this?" "You do not know me." He meets her eyes, and for a moment she sees a hint of loneliness behind his steady posture. "Maybe," he says quietly. "You reached out to the wrong number, but maybe I received it at the right moment." Her breath hitches. Not because the line is romantic, but because it feels painfully honest. She looks away, swallowing. "I will try it," she says finally. "Just for a few days. I cannot promise more." "That is all I ask," he replies, as she turns to leave. He notices her coat sleeve frayed at the edge, her shoes worn thin, and the way she carries herself with both exhaustion and pride. Something inside him shifts, subtle but powerful. She does not know it yet. But this small beginning is about to pull both of them into a world neither of them expected. Mara steps into the hallway again, the elevator doors sliding open with a soft chime. She presses her hand to her chest, steadying her breath. A wrong number brought her here. But something tells her the real story is only beginning. The next few days move in a rhythm that feels unfamiliar to Mara, almost fragile, as if a single wrong step might break it. Each morning she rises before the sun, preparing her son's bottle with the formula she managed to buy after her first small paycheck from the project space. It is not much, but it is enough to ease the knot of fear that has lived beneath her ribs for months. She walks him to Mrs. Childers's apartment, thanking the older woman with quiet sincerity before heading downtown for her new part-time hours. Every step still feels uncertain but less heavy than before. She tells herself not to get attached to this temporary calm. She reminds herself that anything too good rarely lasts. Yet when she reaches the building where Caleb works, she cannot deny the tiny spark of steadiness that rises in her chest. Inside the project office, Caleb is already there. He always arrives early, though he never mentions it. He simply greets her with a polite nod and a soft good morning. Mara, as if this has been their routine for years instead of days, she returns the greeting, setting her bag on the small desk he cleared for her. The tasks he assigns are manageable, almost soothing in their simplicity. Organizing folders, updating calendars, typing handwritten notes into neat digital lists, the kind of work that lets her breathe. For the first time in a long time, she is not rushing. She is not juggling 3 jobs at once. She is not skipping meals to keep the lights on. She is just working. Sometimes Caleb asks her how she is doing, his tone even and respectful. She answers briefly, not wanting to reveal too much. He never pushes. Instead, he returns to his side of the room, typing with quiet focus. The silence between them is never awkward, only steady, almost warm. One morning, her mind is elsewhere as she sorts through a stack of old project files. She does not notice Caleb approaching until he is close enough for her to feel his presence. "Mara," he says gently, "you've been looking at the same page for 10 minutes. She startles and closes the folder quickly. "I am sorry. I did not realize." "You do not need to apologize," he replies. "Is something wrong?" She hesitates. She is used to carrying her problems alone. She does not trust easily, especially not strangers who show kindness for reasons she cannot understand. But something in Caleb's expression, steady, patient, unexpectedly sincere, softens the guard around her. "I just have a lot on my mind," she says quietly. "Bills, childcare, things like that." He nods slowly. "If you ever need your schedule adjusted, you can tell me. This job is supposed to help, not add pressure." She lets out a soft breath she did not realize she was holding. "Thank you. I appreciate that." He gives a small nod, then steps back to his desk, but the moment lingers in the air between them. The boundaries remain intact, but the distance has shifted. Just a little. Later that afternoon, as she finishes reorganizing a set of documents, her phone buzzes. She glances at the screen and notices a missed call from the utility company. Her stomach twists. She steps into the hallway to call them back, her voice low and tense. Caleb hears the door close and notices the change immediately. He tries not to listen, but fragments of worry slip through the doorwards like extension. "I just need a few more days, and I am trying." When she returns, she forces a smile, but her eyes are tired. She resumes working as if nothing happened, but her hands shake slightly as she types. Caleb watches her for a moment, his jaw tightening with a quiet frustration he does not fully understand. Not frustration with Herb, with a world that lets someone work so hard for so little stability without thinking. He walks to her desk and kneels beside the file cabinet she is organizing. "You do not need to pretend everything is all right," he says softly. She freezes. "I am not pretending. I am just doing my best." He meets her eyes, and for the first time, she sees something vulnerable in his expression. "I understand what it feels like to carry more than you should, even if the burdens are different." She swallows. It is the closest thing to personal revelation he has shared. She wants to ask what he means, but the question catches in her throat before either of them can say more. Her stomach growls quietly in the small room. She goes stiff with embarrassment, but Caleb pretends he does not hear it. Instead, he stands and clears his throat gently. "There is a cafe downstairs. I was going to order lunch," he says. "Would you like something?" She shakes her head quickly. "No, thank you." "I brought something from home." She has not. They both know she has not. Caleb hesitates, then chooses his words carefully. "You are working hard. You deserve to eat. Let it be just lunch, nothing else." The offer hangs between them, simple, human, not charity, not pity. After a long moment, she nods. All right. Thank you. When he disappears into the hallway to place the order, Mara sits back in her chair, pressing her hands to her face. She does not know what this connection is or where it is leading. She only knows that she feels seen in a way she has not felt in years, and that scares her more than anything. In the elevator downstairs, Caleb exhales slowly, steadying himself. He has no idea why a stranger's hunger affects him more deeply than the demands of his entire empire. But he knows one thing. This is no longer just a job he offered, a woman from a wrong number. Something real is forming, quietly, gently. In the spaces neither of them expected, the following week settles into a rhythm that feels almost steady. Mara arrives each morning with a quiet determination, completing her tasks with care and precision. Caleb watches the way she works, the way she keeps her worries tucked beneath polite smiles, the way she never asks for anything more than what she has earned. Every day, he finds himself expecting her presence more and more. One afternoon, the air outside grows colder, and a thin layer of frost coats the windows of the project office. Mara slips in a little later than usual, brushing melted snow from her hair. She apologizes softly, though she does not owe an apology. Caleb notices the redness in her cheeks, the chill in her hands. He wants to ask if she had trouble with the bus, or if she walked again to save money, but he stays silent. Pushing too hard might break, fragile trust slowly forming between them. She settles at her desk and begins entering notes into the computer. She works quietly, her fingers moving faster when she senses time slipping away. After a while, she stops typing, rubbing her temple with one hand. Caleb looks up from across the room. Mara. He asks gently, "Are you all right?" She drops her hand quickly, forcing a small smile. "I am fine. Just a little tired." He studies her expression. She looks pale, her eyes dimmer than usual, her shoulders tense. She reminds him of someone walking through a storm with no shelter in sight. He stands slowly and steps closer. "When was the last time you ate?" he asks. She lowers her gaze. "I had something earlier." He tilts his head slightly. "What did you have?" She hesitates, and that hesitation tells him everything. When she finally answers, her voice is soft. "Coffee." Caleb feels something tighten in his chest. Not anger, not pity. Something deeper. He moves quietly toward the small kitchenette in the corner of the office and begins. Preparing the bowls of the instant soup he keeps stocked for long work sessions. It is simple food, nothing fancy, but warm and filling. Mara watches him with confusion. "You do not have to do that," she says softly. "I know," he replies, stirring the soup gently. "But I want you to eat something real before you faint on me." Her cheeks warm with embarrassment. "I am not going to faint." "Good," he says, placing a bowl in front of her. "Then this will just be lunch." She looks at the steam rising from the bowl. For a moment she does not move. Then slowly she picks up the spoon. The first bite makes her eyes close, not from taste, but from the warmth settling into her body. She had forgotten what it felt like to feel full. "Thank you," she whispers. "You are welcome." They eat in silence, but the quiet between them feels different now, softer. Deeper, no longer guarded. After lunch, Mara returns to sorting files. She moves with a little more energy, a little more clarity. Caleb watches her for a moment from the doorway, then steps into the hall to take a brief call. When he returns, he finds her staring at a framed photo on the wall, one of a city skyline, captured at dawn. "That is beautiful," she says. "It is the view from the office upstairs." He replies before realizing the slip. She glances at him. "Upstairs? You have another office?" He clears his throat softly. "Yes, for larger meetings. I do not use it often." There is a moment of curiosity in her eyes, but she does not press. She simply turns back to her work. But the small detail lingers in her mind. Later in the afternoon, as she prepares to leave and pick up her son, the elevator dings in the hallway. The doors slide open, revealing two sharply dressed individuals, one man. One woman holding sleek folders stamped with an emblem she does not recognize. Their voices drift into the office even before they step fully inside. "Mr. Rowan, the board wants your statement by tomorrow morning," the woman says briskly. Caleb stiffens. "I told them I will handle it." "They are concerned about the press coverage," the man adds. "The shareholders want reassurance." Caleb gives a tight nod. "I will take care of it." "Not here." Only then do the two turn and notice Mara standing by her desk. Their expressions shift, instantly surprise, flickering into something more curious, almost appraising. "And who is this?" the woman asks. Mara freezes. Caleb steps forward. "She works with me," he says simply. "That is all you need to know." The two visitors exchange glances but remain quiet. They nod to him politely and step back into the elevator, leaving behind a tense silence. When the doors close, Mara turns to him, confusion written across her face. "You're bored?" she asks slowly. He inhales, steadying himself. He does not want to reveal too much, too fast. "It is complicated," he replies. "The people upstairs handle a lot of company matters." She studies him, trying to understand the weight in his voice. "You are not just working on a small project, are you?" He holds her gaze for a long moment, something unspoken rising between them. "No," he says softly, "but I did not want that to matter." Mara swallows. Her heart beats a little faster, not from fear, but from the realization that she knows almost nothing about the man who has been quietly helping her find her footing. She gathers her coat and thanks him again for lunch. "I will see you tomorrow," she says, as she steps into the elevator and the doors close. Caleb stays where he stands, staring at the empty space she leaves behind, wondering how much longer he can hide the truth, and what will happen when she finally discovers who he really is. The next morning arrives with a weight Mara cannot name. She moves through her tiny apartment on autopilot, preparing her son's bottle, bundling him into the stroller, thanking Mrs. Childers before hurrying toward the downtown building. But beneath her steady steps is a quiet unease that has been growing ever since those strangers called. Caleb, Mr. Rowan, and mentioned a board. She tries to push the thoughts aside, but they cling to her like static. When she enters the project office, Caleb is already there, standing near the window with a tension she has never seen on him. He turns at the sound of the door. "Good morning," he says. "Good morning," she replies. Though her voice is softer, more guarded, for a moment they stand in a silence neither of them knows how to break. She moves to her desk and begins organizing the morning files, but her hands are slower today. Caleb notices immediately. "You seem distant," he says gently. "Is something wrong?" She hesitates, then sets the folder down. "Yesterday, the people from your board, they talk to you like you run something much bigger than a project space." He exhales slowly. "It is complicated," he repeats. "That is what you said yesterday," she replies quietly. "But that is not an answer, Caleb." He steps closer. "I did not tell you everything because I did not want who I am to change how you saw me." Her heart tightens at the phrasing. "And who are you?" Before he can respond, the elevator dings sharply. The same two board members step out, followed by a third man in a tailored suit. Cameras flash from the hallway. Voices rise. Mara turns toward the commotion just as the suited man says loudly, "Reporters are waiting downstairs, Mr. Rowan. They want your official response to the scandal." "We need to leave now." The room freezes. Mara's breath stops. "Mr. Rowan." The name echoes through her like a cold wind. She looks at Caleb really. Looks, and suddenly the pieces fall into place. The careful privacy. The separate office. The nervous board members. The pressure. The hesitation every time she asked a question. Her voice is barely a whisper. "Caleb Rowan." The Caleb Rowan. His silence is confirmation. She steps back as if the air between them has turned solid. "You are a billionaire. The billionaire everyone talks about. And you let me believe you were just someone trying to help." "Mara," he says softly, reaching toward her. "I did not lie to hurt you. I only wanted you to feel safe with me. I did not want my name to make things complicated." Her eyes burn. Not from anger alone, but from humiliation. You knew how much I am struggling. You knew exactly what I went through. And you said nothing. Do you have any idea how that feels? I wanted to help without overwhelming you, he says. Without making you feel small? But you did, she whispers. Right now, I feel very small. The board members wait impatiently by the elevator. Reporters shout from the hallway. Caleb stands caught between two worlds, and Mara understands, in one sharp moment, which world he truly belongs to. She grabs her coat with trembling hands. I cannot do this, she says. I cannot be part of something built on half-truths. Please, but she's already stepping into the hallway, already turning her back as the elevator doors begin to close. For the first time since their strange connection began, Caleb watches her walk away and realizes he has no idea how to stop her. That night, the city feels heavier than usual. The wind pushes against the windows of Mara's apartment, rattling the thin glass as she sits on the edge of her bed, her son sleeping beside her. She cannot stop replaying every moment with Caleb in her mind. Every quiet kindness, every moment he chose to help, every truth he chose not to share. She tells herself she should feel only anger. She tells herself she should walk away completely. But the ache inside her is not simple. It is disappointment. It is the sting of almost trusting someone for the first time in years. Across the city, in the penthouse that now feels too large for one person, Caleb stands alone in the dim light of his living room. He has ignored every call from his board tonight. He has canceled every meeting for tomorrow. His mind is not on shareholder concerns or press statements. It is on her voice. Her disappointment. The way she stepped back as if the truth burned. He realizes now that hiding who he was did not protect her. It hurt her. And he hates that he let fear make that choice. He picks up the framed photo of the city skyline that hung in the project space. The one she admired without knowing it was the view from his private office. He sets it down gently and turns toward his desk. He knows what he has to do. The next morning, while Mara prepares a small bottle for her son, a soft knock comes at her door. She freezes. No one comes here unannounced. Not unless it is a landlord demanding rent or a neighbor needing help. When she opens the door, she finds Mrs. Childers holding a sealed envelope. This was left downstairs for you, the older woman says. The man insisted it was important. Ra's heart stutters. What man? A tall one, she replies, dressed very nicely. Mara closes the door with trembling hands and opens the envelope. Inside is a single card with an address written in careful handwriting. Nothing else. No explanation. No request. Just a line at the bottom. Please come. I owe you the truth. She almost tears the card in half. She almost throws it away. But something inside Hertha, same something that first pushed her to text a broken number by accident, tells her she needs to go, if she is ever going to close this door completely. She bundles her son and walks to the bus stop. The ride is long, and the building that appears at the end of the route is nothing like the quiet project office. It is tall, modern, wrapped in blue-tinted glass, and trimmed with silver steel. A place built for power. She steps inside cautiously. A receptionist greets her with a warm smile. Are you Mara Ellis? Mara nods, surprised. Mr. Rowan asked me to bring you in. Right this way. The receptionist leads her through a quiet hallway to a large room with tall windows overlooking the city. But it is not the luxury that stops her breath. It is the framed object in the center of the room, a simple grocery receipt, the same crumpled receipt she once kept folded in her wallet, one from the night she ran out of formula. It hangs inside an elegant glass frame lit by soft, warm light, as if it is something precious. She steps closer. Unable to speak, footsteps sound behind her. Mara. She turns. Caleb stands in the doorway. No guards, no reporters, no board members, just him. His expression is open, vulnerable. Nothing like the untouchable billionaire the world knows. I did not frame that to embarrass you, he says softly. I framed it because it reminded me of something I forgot a long time ago. What it feels like to fight for something real. What it means to be responsible for someone who depends on you. Her throat tightens. He continues, voice steady but low. I should have told you who I was. I was afraid you would pull away before I had the chance to prove that I cared about more than my name. She looks away, her eyes burning. And what do you care about, Caleb? You, he answers without hesitation. And your son. And the fact that a wrong number showed me the kind of person I want to be again. Silence stretches between them, painful, fragile, honest. Then he steps closer, leaving a respectful distance. I do not want anything from you. Not forgiveness. Not trust. Not a second chance. Only the opportunity to help you build something steadier. If you will let me. Mara stares at the framed receipt. The symbol of the night everything began. For the first time since walking away from him, she lets herself breathe. For a long moment, Mara stands in front of the framed receipt, the soft light reflecting off the glass. It is strange how something so ordinary, something she once hid inside her wallet because it embarrassed her, now hangs like a tribute to everything she survived. She lifts her hand and touches the edge of the frame gently. It feels like touching the beginning of a story she never meant to write. Behind her, Caleb waits. Not pushing. Not insisting. Just waiting, as if her decision matters more to him than anything waiting outside those tall glass windows. She turns toward him slowly. Why me, Caleb? She asks, softly. Why help me? Why go this far? His answer is quiet, steady, and without hesitation. Because you reminded me that money means nothing if it is not used to make someone's life better. You reminded me of the kind of leader I wanted to be before the world convinced me to be someone else. And you reminded me, he adds, his voice lowering, that a person can be strong even when life gives them nothing but reasons to fall. Her chest tightens. I am not looking for a savior, she whispers. I know, he replies, taking a step closer. I am not trying to save you. I am trying to stand beside you. There is a difference. The words settle between them, warm and fragile. Mara closes her eyes for a breath, letting the fear in her chest loosen its grip just a little. She looks up at him again. I cannot promise anything, she says. Except that I am trying. And I want a life where my son can grow without fear, he nods. Then let me help you build that. Not by controlling it. Not by owning it. But by investing in you, the same way you have unknowingly invested in me. There is something raw in his voice. Something she did not expect from a man with a skyline outside his window and an empire behind his name. She steps closer, not closing the distance completely, but close enough for him to understand that she is no longer walking away. I am willing to start again, she says softly. But this time, no lies, no half-truths. No lies, he promises. Not anymore. A gentle silence follows. The kind that comes when two people who have been standing on opposite ends of survival finally meet in the middle. Mara wipes a tear from her cheek and glances at the framed receipt once more. This is still embarrassing, she mutters. Caleb almost smiles. It is a reminder, he says. Of the night a wrong number changed both of our lives. She exhales, half a laugh, half a sigh. Then maybe it is not so embarrassing after all. He gestures toward the hallway. Come, there's something else I want to show you. Mara follows him through a glass corridor into a bright open office space. A newly installed sign hangs on the wall. The Rowan Family Support Initiative for Single Parents and Caregivers. She stops in her tracks. This is for you, Caleb says quietly, but not in the way you think. It is yours to help shape. Yours to help run. A real job. A real position. Something that uses your strength, not your desperation. She stares at him, stunned. You want me to work here? She asks. I want you to lead here. He corrects gently. Your experience gives you insight I never had. You know what struggling parents actually need? You can build something that helps people long before they reach a breaking point, for the first time in years. She feels something shift inside her, not panic. Not fear, but possibility. She lifts her chin, steadying her voice. I want to do this, she says. Not for you. For my son. For people like me, that is exactly why I asked you, he replies. She holds out her hand, unsure if this is the right gesture, but offering it anyway. He takes it with a sincerity that feels steady and grounded. A single mother and a billionaire. A wrong number and an impossible beginning. But standing there with her son's future, no longer clouded by fear and his heart finally grounded in something real, it no longer feels impossible. It feels inevitable. Mara lets out a slow breath. So, she says softly, where do we begin? Caleb smiles, not the guarded smile he gave the world, but something genuine. Right here, he says. Together. And just like that, the story that began with a desperate message sent to the wrong number finds its ending in a quiet room filled with hope, purpose, and the promise of something that neither of them expected. A beginning worth fighting for.